Hi, everyone. Welcome to All Levels Yoga. My name is Michelle Chua. Make sure that you have a yoga block today, and if you don't have an actual block, a firm pillow that's about the width of the narrowest width of the block. And it may be helpful to grab a blanket or a beach towel to fold up and sit on as well. And if you are doing that, let's sit towards the front edge slightly so that your pelvis can just a little bit tilt forward. Your thighs can drop easily, your knees can fall open. So we started last week exploring week by week different components of the 8 limbs of yoga. But we know that the first limb of yoga, the yamas, or the ethical guidelines of how we relate to the world, is composed of 5 so-called virtues. And last week we went over ahimsa, which was nonviolence. So this week we start with satya, which means truthfulness. Here's a little bit from our Root to Rise yoga blog. So along with self-awareness comes the choice to be honest with yourself and the world. How can you align what you believe with what you say and do? One of my favorite lines in the Yoga Sutra says, with establishment in honesty, the state of fearlessness comes. Aligning to your truth is freedom to be authentically you, not your ego, but your true nature, that of pure love. Our thoughts and words have creative power. When they are misaligned to what we do and say, we feel, and others may feel, a state of imbalance and confusion within us. Just as we consciously align our bodies in yoga poses, yoga includes aligning our minds, bodies, and spirit so that our actions in our outer world match our inner intentions. Living with such clarity and integrity, we can live wholeheartedly, expressing our truth with ahimsa. Sitting here now, if you're feeling very busy in your mind or you're very busy today, you may want to ground and turn your palms face down on your lap. And if you're feeling a little slow moving, need just some uplift, try turning your palms face up. Feel the ground or the blanket that you're sitting on and begin to more firmly press into it to the left and right sides of your pelvis. Then in your mind's eye, bring your attention to the base of your spine. Let's trace the center line or midline of your torso. As you take a deep breath, visualize your gaze climbing up the ladder of each vertebra slowly, as though you could restack each to create a taller and more spacious spine without rigidity. Add some softness as you arrive even at the top of your head. And now exhaling through your mouth, climb your attention from the crown of your head to your neck at your cervical spine. Feel any natural curves in your spine as you travel your gaze down to your pelvis. And again, maybe a little slower, inhaling deeply. Climb your mind's eye up the ladder of your spine, up the midline of your torso, hovering at the crown of your head. Notice if there's any tension arising from this focus. Soften. Exhale to your mouth, gazing down your spine slowly. And then try that once again on your own. And now if you can, just through your nose, close your lips and place your hands on the lowest portion of your side ribs so that your pinky fingers even touch your upper abdomen, sides of your waist. Now, inhaling deeply, expand into your belly gently, into your rib cage. Let the intercostal muscles in between your ribs expand up to your chest. Fill up with your breath. Now, through the nose, slowly exhale all the way out to empty. Let the belly draw in slightly towards your spine. Keep sitting up tall again. Inhale, very slowly filling up. Notice that as the breath expands into your rib cage, your belly, you're using your diaphragm. Full expansion, and then empty it slowly through your nose again. So we're about to enter bellows breath. You can think of a bellow as an accordion, sort of expanding and contracting, just like your lungs here. Using your diaphragm for full expansion. Equal length inhale with exhale. And we're going to go a little bit faster, but still attentive to that balance. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Now you can continue with your hands here if that helps. Otherwise, you can bend your elbows apart and we'll add a kriya or action to it. Hands like this. As you breathe in, you raise your arms straight up, spread your fingers wide. And as you breathe out, you rebend your elbows and refist your hands to the rhythm of your breath. Inhale, exhale. Keep going. So you can pause to rest whenever you need, but see if you can sustain a balanced rhythm. I'm going to set the timer for this practice of Bhastrika Pranayama for 1 minute. Ready? Begin. Fully enlivening your lungs, clearing your lungs. Relaxing your face, relaxing your shoulders. And relax. Now let's move into Ujjayi Pranayama, continuing to breathe through your nose and sustaining your breath while softly narrowing the back of your throat. Long inhalation equal to a long exhalation. So you're creating a gentle whisper that you can listen to and track the quality of your breath with. As you bring your palms together at your heart, perhaps set an intention for this practice tonight. For one chant of Om, take a deep breath in. Breathing in through your nose and out through your nose, Ujjayi Pranayama. As you continue to listen to that, let's place the left fingertips, as I'm mirroring you here, just on the floor outside of your left hip. Raise your right arm up. Let's find some broadening across your shoulders. So rotate your right tricep, the outer side of your upper arm, slightly forward. Press the two shoulders down, sit up tall and breathe in. Exhale, begin to side bend to your left. Pausing as you breathe and root your right sitting bone especially into the ground, and then lengthen your spine from your pelvis. Exhale, side bend a little more if you can. Maybe crawling your left fingertips away. Maybe eventually lowering your left elbow. Think of hugging in your front ribs and continuing to relax your shoulders down, away from your neck. Take another deep breath in. As you exhale, draw in your lower belly. Use that to help you rise back up. Crawl your right fingertips down and raise your left arm up. So let's broaden across the shoulders. Rotate your outer upper arm or tricep forward, just like we would in downward facing dog. Breathe in, lift through the center line of your torso. Breathe out, begin to side bend to your right. Pause, root down through your two sitting bones, especially the left as you inhale, while lengthening your spine from your pelvis. Exhale, side bend a little more if you can. Feel your front ribs hugging inward towards your back body. Sides of your neck long. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, draw in your navel and use that to help you rise up to sit. So take one of your blocks, and you may, if you're not already sitting up on a prop like a blanket, you may want to for this. And by the skinniest width of that block, we're going to hug it in between the soles of your feet. And here, placing your hands behind your pelvis, use that, your hands here. We're not going to fold forward. We're going to work on lifting the chest, broadening the chest, while sealing in the bottom of your front ribs. And then flex your feet here so you're firming the soles of your feet into the block, but your toes are actually not touching the block. Feel the mound of your big toes. Press that firmly into the block so you feel the inner arches of your feet activate. Breathe in, breathe out. Keep sitting tall with the help of your hands behind you. And notice as you're splitting open your thighs here, the outer sides of your ankles are not lax on the ground. They're actually not even touching the ground as you're firming your feet into the block. 3 more breaths. So we're going to do some center line hugging in with our outer ankles today, finding that sense of stability, but as well as coming back to our center, literally, as I feel that it's much about satya too, that truthfulness, that integrity in our physical practice. And then from here, let's put the block aside. We're going to come back to this later, but go ahead and place one block at the front of your mat if you have 2, and then the second block at the rear of your mat off to the side. And let's come down to hands and knees. Take our usual cat-cows for a few times. So set your wrists just beneath your shoulders, pointing your index fingers forward so they're parallel to each other. Now be mindful of how you set your hands here, because if your hands are turning inward at all, it begins to rotate the shoulders inward, closing off the chest. So you want to feel that. Remember how we wrapped the tricep forward when the arm was up? That same action, but as you're on all fours, your triceps are rotating towards the rear of your mat. But it's the same effect of broadening across your shoulders. And as you feel your thumbs, really flatten them and then stretch them towards each other. So you have a wide surface area of your palms pressing into the earth. Set your knees a couple inches behind your hips. And inhale, lengthen your spine with a feeling of a flat back forward. Then coil your chest up from right under your scapula, right under your shoulder blades. Look up. Exhale, contract your belly first. And then feel your tailbone tucking underneath as you drop your skull slowly into cat pose. Inhale towards a flat back, gliding the chest forward through your arms, rolling the shoulders down as you lift your gaze. Cow pose. Exhale, hollow your belly. Feel your pelvic bowl spill behind you as you drop your skull. Keep going a few more times. So in the physical practice of yoga, we might look at truthfulness as honoring where we are right now in our bodies and minds and energy levels and meeting ourselves there. Some days we need a lighter practice and more child's poses. And some days we need to sweat a little and get things moving, unstuck energy so it can flow. We can have a strong chi. I just watched Mulan. And then with an exhale, tuck your toes. Press the ground away with your hands and lift your hips. Come into downward dog. Now take a few breaths of just moving around any way that you like. Greet your body here the way that you enjoy. I like to pedal my feet and do sort of a twist, swiveling the hips left to right. And even softly exploring range of motion in my neck. Feel your breath, staying aware of it. Nice, and then from here, walk your hands back to meet your feet, coming into a forward fold at the rear of your mat. Feet apart, hips distance, parallel your second toes. Now pay attention to your toes here, just like we did with our fingers on all fours. Lift your toes off the ground, bend your knees any amount here so you're not rounding your back or tensing your shoulders. And as you're lifting your toes, try to spread them apart and then press down through the mound of your big toes. Keep spreading your toes, press down through all toes, and then reach your hands behind you, interlacing your fingers or holding a strap between your hands. Shift your weight a little heavier towards the balls of your feet. And with your knees still bent, breathe in and blossom your chest forward, lengthening the sides of your torso as you hug your bent elbows closer together. Exhale, hinge from your hips and keep your weight slightly forward. Let's take a few breaths here, maybe softly shaking and nodding your head. As you continue to reach your arms forward away from your lower back, feel your chest broadening. And at the same time, lengthen your neck, so lift your shoulders up away from it and let your skull just hang loose. Couple more breaths. Now, as you lower your hands, take the block that's beside you, and by the skinniest width of that block, hug it right in between your ankles. Feet are still parallel, hugging the block between your ankles, and then bring your hands to your hips, point your elbows towards the sky. Bend your knees, lead with your chest as you firm your abdomen. So think of a flat back with knees bent, and inhale, slowly rise all the way up to stand. So as you hug that block coming into mountain pose, bring your arms down by your sides, palms facing forward. It's said that mountain pose is the reference point or blueprint for all of the standing postures. So how can we find integrity in what might seem so simple as standing up, mountain pose, and bring those qualities into other postures, even warrior three? So as you spread your toes on the ground, press down through the big toe mounds like we did earlier. Hug the block firmly and feel how the outer sides of your ankles are enlivened and they're not lax and splaying out, creating outer ankle stability. And then feel how you're actively hugging the block has some engagement in your lower abdomen, how it affects everything that's above it. Your quadriceps enliven, your kneecaps slightly lift without locking. And then your tailbone lengthening down as the lower belly draws in and the frontal hip bones slightly rise. Feel the bottom of your front ribs melt downward towards your pubic bone. Find a slight lift in your back ribs as you lengthen your lower back. And then draw the fronts of your shoulder heads slightly behind you and then press them down. And like there's a string coming out from the crown of your head, like a shish kebab, threading through each vertebra of your spine, down your center line. Imagine someone's pulling that string very lightly, so it's not rigid, it's like a floating action. Now bring your attention to the base of your spine like we did in the beginning. Inhale, visualize the breath climbing up the ladder of each vertebra, all the way up through that crown of your head being pulled up. Exhale through the nose, visualize coming down the spine, and then down in between your ankles, down into the earth. So let's flow through half sun salutations, hugging this block firmly. Don't let it go lax. Inhale, sweep the arms up and notice the pressing downward as you rise upward. Hinge from your hips, bend your knees any amount you need so your back is not rounding as you exhale to fold. Let your weight shift a little heavier towards the balls of your feet. Press into the ground or your shins. Inhale, lengthen your chest forward. Feel it draw beyond your upper arms, and then exhale, fold a little deeper. Firming down through your feet, maybe knees bent. Inhale, slowly rise. Notice the belly is active here as you lead with your chest. Watch your palms touch. Make sure the shoulders are relaxed, and then exhale, trace your thumbs down your center line. Arms by your sides. Let's take 2 more, flowing to your breath. Inhale, arms overhead, Urdhva Hastasana. Keep a long spine. Exhale, fold Uttanasana. Press with your fingertips. Inhale, draw your chest forward, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, hinge a little more, Uttanasana. From down through your feet, firm belly. Inhale, rise tall. And if your shoulders begin to shrug when you reach your arms up, reach your arms more forward than up. Exhale, down your midline. Last one, inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, draw your heart forward. Exhale, fold. From down, inhale, rise tall. Full expansion in the lungs, the belly. Exhale, back to mountain pose. All right, so we're gonna do a little more, but relax your ankles, relax your feet for a moment. You could even walk them out or circle out the ankles. We're gonna do a little more of this ankle stability, but it's gonna take us into the center line of our whole body. So come back to hugging the block right between your ankles. Parallel your second toes, spread your toes, activate your legs, your lower abdomen. Feel your front ribs sealing in. And now begin to lift your heels. Steady your gaze forward. Lift your heels, hug your outer ankles towards each other, hug the block. Now keep your heels lifted, extend your arms forward, palms face each other, and start to bend your knees like you're coming into chair pose. Come 1/3 of the way down, pause, breathe, relax the face. Bend a little deeper, another 1/3 of the way down, keep lifting your heels. Hug in your front ribs, bend a little deeper, last 1/3 down, and now crawl your fingertips to the ground in front of you and fold forward. You can keep the knees bent if you like. Now keep hugging the block between your ankles, crawl your hands forward, come into plank pose. And if you need, you can set your knees on the floor. You're still hugging the block, holding plank 3 breaths. Gaze on the floor ahead of your hands, broaden your chest, lift your navel, firm your heels back. Chaturanga Dandasana. As you breathe out, glide forward, bend your elbows close to your side ribs through Chaturanga, come all the way down. So pointing your toes, still hugging the block between your ankles, parallel your feet here, and keep the tops of your feet heavy on the ground. So don't lift your feet, keep your pelvis heavy, but notice how your knees are not touching the floor. With your wrists alongside your floating ribs, hug your elbows close to your sides, lift your shoulder heads away from the ground as you do that. And inhale into Cobra, stay another 2 breaths. Broaden your chest as your hands stay still. Imagine you're dragging them towards your hips. So you're pulling your heart forward. Lengthen the back of your neck. Relax the face. 1 more breath in. Now, you can use your knees or tuck your toes. Draw the belly in to press into your plank pose, and then lift your pelvis back. Downward facing dog. Now keep the block where it is. Let it land on the floor. It's touching your inner left ankle. Inhale, raise your right leg back. Exhale, bend your right knee towards your nose, lightly stepping the foot just inside of your right hand. Now you're in a high lunge. Come up onto your fingertips. You have the option of lowering your back knee if you don't have 2 blocks for your hands and need them. Make sure that your right knee is bent directly on top of your right heel. Now, even though you're not hugging the block, imagine your left ankle is. So let it keep touching the block. Press the inner side of your left ankle towards your rear wall. Draw your chest forward. Breathe. Now bend your left knee if it's not on the ground already, and start to lift your spine and arms overhead, coming into crescent lunge. As you relax your shoulders down, let's create some space across them. Slightly rotate your triceps both forward. Let the bend in your left knee allow your tailbone to lengthen towards the ground beneath it as you slightly lift your frontal hip bones. And press your left heel actively towards the rear wall, maybe moving towards straightening your left leg. Last 3 breaths. As you exhale, step back into plank pose. Feel the block you're hugging between both ankles. Knees could be on the floor, legs straight. Breathe in plank. Exhale, glide forward through Chaturanga Dandasana, all the way down. Point your toes, keep the tops of your feet on the floor. Inhale, Cobra. Draw your heart forward. Tuck your toes. Exhale, push up, your version of plank. Lift your pelvis back. Downward facing dog. Breathe in. Breathe out. About 3 more breaths here. So even in downward facing dog, there is that quality of hugging your outer ankles towards your midline. But there's also a counter action to balance it. Think of your inner thighs pressing towards your rear wall at the same time. You could bend your knees any amount. 1 more breath. As you exhale, walk your hands back towards your feet. Forward fold at the rear of your mat. Inhale, press the ground to your shins. Lengthen your chest forward. Exhale, fold in. From down through your feet, adjust the block if you need, so you're hugging it between your ankles, skinny width. And then inhale, circle your arms to rise. Exhale, arms by your sides in Tadasana. So let's come back to what we just did. Start to lift your heels, hugging your outer ankles towards each other. Feel the inner arches of your feet active as you press the mounds of your big toes into the floor, spreading your toes. Breathe. Now this time you can reach your arms forward or reach your arms towards the sky. Triceps forward, shoulder blades down, hugging your front ribs in. Steadying your gaze and breath. Bend your knees like chair pose. Just go 1/3 of your range. Pause there. Outer ankles active, front ribs hugging in. Bend a little deeper. Another 1/3 of your range. Pause and breathe. Last time, bend another 1/3. And then tilt your weight forward to fold over your legs. Inhale, press your heart forward. Exhale, crawl your hands forward into plank. Pause and plank. Inhale, lengthen from crown of your head. Trace your midline to your inner heels. And exhale, shift forward. This time, come all the way down for Cobra or try Upward Dog. Untucking your toes, hugging your ankles together as you coil your chest up. Inner thighs spiral towards the sky. Exhale, hollow your belly. Use the lift of your navel to draw your pelvis high and back. Downward facing dog. Now here's the fun part. You get to kick the block aside. That's enough of that. So from here, take a few more deep breaths. We're gonna move into a continuous sun salutation. I almost forgot something. We're gonna do one more pose without the block. So as you inhale, raise your left leg behind you. Exhale, bend your left knee towards your nose, round forward, lightly step your left foot inside of your left hand, pause in a high or kneeling lunge. Come onto your fingertips. You could use blocks under your hands here if you like. Feet are parallel, right heel is lifted off the ground. Now imagine your inner right ankle is hugging that block and you're pressing your inner right heel towards your rear wall. Put a bend in your right knee if it's not on the floor, and begin to rise up to stand into crescent lunge. Find space across your shoulders, wrapping your triceps forward. Feel your center alive as you lift your frontal hip bone slightly. And then trace your awareness up and down your spine for a few last breaths. Now exiting differently on an exhale, lower your hands at the top of your mat and step your right foot to meet your left, forward fold. Bring your feet together to touch, and we're going to start a vinyasa flow. Let's mark the first one a little slower. Bend your knees together to touch. Inhale into a regular chair pose. Exhale, hinge from your hips, folding forward. Inhale, press with your fingertips, lengthen your chest forward. Step back into plank or float into Chaturanga Dandasana. Moving down into Cobra or Upward Facing Dog. Exhale, hollow your belly to lift your pelvis back. Downward Dog. Now keeping your hips leveled, lift from your inner right thigh. Inhale your right leg back. Exhale, hollow your belly, round knee to nose, stepping right foot inside of right hand. Pause, feel the structure of your high lunge. Can you feel mountain pose in your left leg as you press the inner heel towards your rear wall? You could bend your left knee any amount if you like. Inhale to rise up into crescent lunge. Find the openness in your neck and shoulders and stability at your center. Take another breath in, and this time with your right hand, catch hold of your left wrist. Lift through the sides of your waist. Keep your legs still as you side bend to your right. Lateral spinal lengthening and extension. Notice that your right knee and middle toe are still facing forward. Take another breath in. And then on your next inhale, rise up to center, backstroke your right arm, and reach your left hand forward and down, coming into a spinal twist. Let's pause here. Now, sometimes as we're twisting, the pelvis will want to come along with us. Let's bring that integrity into hugging your midline with your outer hips. So level your hips, bending your right knee just over the ankle, drawing your right hip crease down and slightly back. And as you're pressing your left heel back into your imaginary rear wall, lift the left thigh away from the floor just enough so your hips' heights are balanced. Now direct your twist at your waistline as you're turning your chest, maybe looking up towards right thumb. Take another breath in, backstroking your right arm forward. Spin your left heel to the earth, setting up for Warrior Two. Align your right heel to intersect the arch of your left foot, and then windmill your left arm behind you as you rise to stand. Now notice your stance. Your ankles are pretty much right under your wrists. Your left leg from the hip is turned slightly inward so that your back toes are slightly facing the front of your mat. And that allows the full turnout of your right leg at the hip, so that the center of your right knee and middle toe are tracing the midline of your mat. Feel your right outer hip hug beneath you as the top of your left thigh bone firms back towards the right edge of your mat. Arms wide open, steady gaze. 2 more breaths. Exhaling, plant your hands on the earth, step into plank pose. Continue the exhale down into Chaturanga Dandasana. Breathing into Cobra or Upward Facing Dog. Draw your navel in to lift your pelvis high into Downward Facing Dog. Pause there or take a child's pose if needed. Take about 3 breaths before we move on. All right, second side from downward dog. Keeping your hips level, think about lifting your leg from your inner thigh. Inhale, raise your left leg behind you. Exhale, contract your belly and round forward, bending knee to nose. Set your left foot down inside of left hand. Come into a lunge on your fingertips. Pause here. Feel stability in your legs as your inner right heel is firming against the back wall or towards it. Now you could bend your right knee as you root down to rise up. Arms overhead, space in your neck and shoulders, aliveness at your center, stability at your feet and ankles. Take another breath in, and as you exhale, backstroke your left arm, reach your right hand forward and down, and let's come into a twist. Pausing here. Feel the energy of your inner right heel firming towards your rear wall, helping to lift your right thigh away from the ground. In contrast, as you bend your left knee right on top of the heel, feel your left outer hip crease sink slightly down and draw slightly back. And with a balance and stability at your hips, rotate your rib cage. Maybe even look up. On an inhale, backstroke your left arm forward, spin your right heel down. Align your left heel to intersect the arch of your right foot as you reach your right arm behind you to rise up. Warrior two. So notice how your right leg is turned in from the hip, toes are facing the front of your mat slightly, and your left leg is completely turned out from the hip as you bend the knee just over the ankle. Front of your pelvis feels slightly lifted, tall spine, long arms, steady gaze for 2 more breaths. On an exhale, lower your hands into plank and continue down into chaturanga if you're taking a full vinyasa, or maybe you take some cat-cows, or none at all. You could always step back to downward facing dog as you honor what you need in your practice today to feel balanced. And whether you're resting in child's pose or pausing in downward dog, let's take 3 deep breaths, setting the pace for the same sequence we just did in a continuous breath-led flow. Bending your knees, look past your hands. Bottom of your exhale, walk or float, feet touching at the top. Inhale, press to lift your chest forward. Exhale, fold in. Knees together, inhale, sit back towards your heels in chair pose. So we're ending this one. Exhale, rise up into mountain pose. New sequence, new round, same sequence. Inhale into chair. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lengthen your chest forward. Either float back to chaturanga or step into plank. Insert your vinyasa. All the way through, we'll meet in downward dog. Once there, inhale, raise your right leg, stability in your hips. Exhale, bend knee to nose, step right foot forward to a high lunge. Inhale, rise into crescent pose. Exhale, backstroke the right hand, lower left fingertips forward and down to a twist. Inhale, backstroke the right hand forward, spin the left heel down, rise up to warrior two. Exhale the hands to the ground, flowing to your vinyasa of choice. Feel and hear the balance in your breathing. Second side, inhale, raise your left leg. Exhale, bend knee to nose, step the foot inside of left hand, high lunge. Inhale, rise into crescent pose. Exhale, backstroke left arm, reach right hand forward and down to a twist. Inhale, backstroke left arm, spin the right heel down, open up to warrior two. Exhale into plank, lowering through your vinyasa. Arriving in downward dog for 3 to 5 restabilizing breaths. As you might remind yourself of your intention for your practice today, I'm going to flow through the same sequence one last time. Can you infuse the energy of that intention into your movements, breath, and focus? Bend your knees, look forward. Bottom of your exhale, walk or float to the top. Feet touching. Inhale, lift your heart forward. Exhale, fold. Knees touching. Inhale, sit back into chair pose. Exhale, rise up, mountain pose. Last time, inhale into chair. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, lift your heart forward. Insert your vinyasa at your pace of breath. When you arrive in downward, inhale, raise your right leg. Exhale, knee to nose, stepping into a high lunge. Inhale, rise into crescent pose. Backstroke the right arm. Exhale, left hand down into a spinal twist. Backstroke the right arm. Inhale to your left in warrior two. Exhale, hands to the earth, flow or none. Back to downward dog at your pace. When you arrive, inhale, raise your left leg. Exhale, knee to nose, step into a high lunge. Inhale, rise into crescent. Backstroke left arm, exhale, reach forward and down to a twist. Inhale, backstroke right arm, rising to face right, 2. Exhale, hands to the earth, flow, or add your version. We'll meet in downward dog. Clearing lion's breath. Deeply inhale, fill up your lungs, your belly. Open your mouth and eyes wide and stick out your tongue. Ha! Once more, maybe even cross your eyes. Inhale. Let it go. Bend your knees, look forward. Bottom of the breath, walk or float to the top. Inhale, lengthen halfway. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees together. Inhale, chair pose. Exhale to rise up. All right. And now, just because I noticed that I did something on one side that we didn't do on the other, bring your hands to your hips and step the ball of your right foot back. Come back into a high lunge, and I'm just going to insert this one variation in a pose. So raise your arms overhead. With your left hand, take hold of your right wrist. Lift your spine, keep your hips facing forward, and then side bend to your left. Take just a couple breaths. Firming your inner right heel back, hugging your front ribs in. And then inhale, rise up, pivot to face the wide width of your mat, and you're in a wide-legged or preparing for wide-legged forward fold. So parallel your feet, bring your hands behind you, and try switching the interlacing of your thumb and index finger on top, which is probably your non-default way. Roll your shoulders back. Inhale, hinge from your hips, and exhale to fold. Now, like earlier, In Uttanasana, can you allow your weight to shift a little heavier onto the balls of your feet than your heels? So it allows your pelvis to actually line up with your ankles so that your glutes are not sticking behind your heels, but they're forward enough. Now let your skull just hang loose, neck and jaw relaxed, maybe softly moving the head. And as you're stretching your arms forward, lift your shoulders up away from your neck. Let's take just 3 more breaths in this version of Prasarita Parottanasana. Remember that you could bend your knees any amount so that you have the full length of your spine, not rounding it. Nice. Lower your fingertips and crawl your hands forward to rise halfway. And let's pause in a half forward fold here, pressing your heart through the gates of your arms, drawing your shoulder blades down your back, lifting your front ribs so that they're sealing towards your back body as you lengthen from armpits to outer hips. A few more breaths. Now, can you feel mountain pose in your torso here? Can you feel through the stability of your legs and how you're hugging your outer ankles towards your midline? As if you have a huge block you're hugging between your ankles right now. Can you feel mountain pose in your legs? Now bend your knees a lot and bring your hands to your hips, leading with your chest. Inhale to slowly rise up. All right, let's come on down to sit, and you may want to grab your blanket again or whatever you might have sat on before. Take a block, and like I mentioned, we're coming back to this pose, this version of bound angle. So this time, here's the skinny width. See if you can bring the medium width in between the soles of your feet. So elevated on a blanket can help prevent rounding in the back, but to further prevent that, let's place the hands behind your pelvis, press down with your fingertips, and lift your spine, lift your chest. And now flex your feet as your soles are hugging the block, pressing the mounds of your big toes against the block. Notice how your outer ankles are not collapsed on the floor here. They're lifted. So this action of flexing your feet as you're doing now is important when we're taking hip opening postures like single pigeon pose, whether lying on your back, the 4-legged shape, or we're sitting upright and folding forward. It's really important to maintain stability in your knees, in the alignment of your knees. If your hips are tight and you're trying to open them or externally rotate your thighs, the knees may try to compensate and do something that they're not supposed to and turn out in themselves. So this ankle stability and this, the big toe mounds pressing towards each other now for knee health. But just now, so go ahead and release that block. You can relax your legs and wiggle out your feet. We're gonna do one more with the block. Now try the widest width in between the soles of your feet. Hands behind your pelvis, flex your feet again as they hug the block. See if you can bring the block closer to your pelvis. Sit up tall, open your chest. Notice how your outer ankles are not collapsing into the floor, which would be sickling them. Instead, you're activating the arches. Now from here, if you want to try to fold forward, press your hands down and lift your pelvis off the ground and then scoot your back so your pelvis can tilt forward. Maybe you grab onto the edges of your mat and pull them apart to help you fold in, or you walk your hands forward. And whatever variation you're taking right now, maybe close your eyes and feel into the energy of it. Is there loving kindness here? Are we integrating ahimsa? Is there truthfulness here as you're honoring your body and self right now? And then leading with your chest, inhale to slowly rise up. All right. Let's come on down to hands and knees. And then sit back onto your shins. We're going to stretch out the tops of your feet and the fronts of your ankles. Now, you could do this by using one hand at a time to lift the knee as you press the top of the foot on the floor, and then switch after maybe 5 breaths. Or you could rock back like a rocking and do both at the same time. It's easy to open our feet, at least from they are so, and how we align our toes and how we just the ground, everything else above our feet. When we're trying to balance with 2 feet on the ground. All right, so as you come down, let's walk the hands forward and just tap the tops of your feet onto the earth. Give them some blood flow. And then grab your 2 blocks, because we're going to take a restorative posture that will just help relieve all that flexing in our feet and all that focus in them, in our ankles. So make a high tower with each block like this. And then you may want to separate them just slightly apart, because we're going to rest our calves on top. So you'll want your calves to be maybe hips distance or a little wide apart. And then take your folded blanket, and it might be a pillow, if not a blanket, and place it on top so it's cushiony and it feels pretty stable. And then as you lie on your back, we're going to bend the knees and place the meat of your calves, not the backs of your knees, but the meat of your calves on top of the towers. And then coming to lie down, take a moment to wiggle your shoulder blades down your back ribs, to turn your palms to face up, open the fronts of your shoulders, and then to even maybe lift your pelvis a moment and draw your tailbone forward towards the space between your knees, and then lower your pelvis. Feel a slight lengthening in your lower spine. And then relax your toes. Maybe your ankles could use a little rotation before you completely be still. Notice that your neck is relaxed. You might turn your head in different ways and find the natural curve of your neck. And as you're ready to let your body be still and supported here, you might close your eyes, and we'll enter Durga Pranayama, or 3-part breathing. It's a wonderful way to relax the nervous system. So we're going to go right into it. We'll visualize the first third of the inhalation filling up your lower abdomen. Then we'll pause the breath. Then we'll fill up the sides of your rib cage, second third, and then the last third of the inhale will fill up to the top of your chest, where we'll hold the breath before exhaling completely, whether through your nose or your mouth, that's up to you. But we're breathing in through the nose, breathing out through nose or the mouth. All right, so let's begin. Empty this breath. Hold it out for a moment. Visualize your belly. Inhale into it, 1/3. Pause. Visualize your side ribs. Inhale into it, 1/3. Pause. Visualize your chest. Inhale to the top of it, last third. Hold your breath in, relaxing your body. Exhale slowly, everything out. Hold your breath out. Again, into your belly, inhale. Pause, into your side ribs, inhale. Pause, top of your chest, inhale. Hold it in, relax. Slowly empty your breath. Hold it out. Let's try one more together before you do on your own. 1/3 belly, inhale. 1/3 side ribs, inhale. 1/3 top of your chest, inhale. Hold it in and relax. Exhale slowly and completely. Hold it out. And then try one more on your own. And once you finish holding your breath out, let go of controlling your breathing. Trust its natural flow. As we enter Shavasana, you could remove the props. Arrange your body any way that you'd like to experience corpse pose in for a few minutes. Just pause here as you continue to rest just a moment longer. This is one of my favorite chants. Loka, Samasta, Sukhino, Bhavantu. And it means, may all beings be happy and free, and may I contribute to that. So if you're ready to come out of stillness and perhaps join me for 5 minutes sitting silently in meditation, gently begin to move your fingers and toes, ease into your feet and hands, and into any other areas of your body that need some movement. You might like to keep your eyes closed and continue tuning in, perhaps bending your knees towards your chest and rolling gently to your right side before lifting your body upright. finding a way to sit. So Satya, truthfulness. Today in this moment, what truth are you honoring? Or what truth is emerging through you? Perhaps that's a focus for the meditation. Setting the timer now. 5 minutes. Feeling the surface beneath your body, feeling your breath. And start to bring your palms together at your heart, lifting your heart center as you bow in. Stepping into the rest of our evening or day. In what ways can you continue to honor your truth and let that shine forth through you? Let's close the practice with one Om. Take a deep breath. The light in me bows to the light in you. Namaste.